Me and him dated the same woman, not at the same time.
That was a weird
but back
pause,
to back.
but that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a weird pause.
We dated the same Venezuelan actress.
Okay.
He went first, and then I went after, but I went farther. Is what I like to
got
tell him.
it. Okay.
Like, go. Try to pivot out of that one. Let me see you pivot out of that one.
No.
Okay. You've never dated her too, right?
Oh, which one? Which one is it?
Have you also?
Which Venezuelan?
I'm not gonna say the name because she's already blocked me on social media.
Oh, what?
It's
Is
like
that bad?
That's how far we went.
You went so far that...
I went so far that she's blocked me from her entire life. Carlos Santos.
What's happening, brother?
You're on Checkitow.
I know. Checkitow.
We're gonna start doing it like that. Checkitow.
Checkitow.
That's actually from Angel Salazar and Scarface. Check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah, so I'm biting somebody on this. It's not completely
That's
original.
okay. But everybody knows, your fans know that that's where it came from.
Well, hopefully, your fans.
Or is
know.
this the first
Your
time
fans are gonna know that.
people are
Check it out.
finding
No,
out?
we'll do this. Yeah, we're doing this as we go. I'm playing it by ear. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
that's cool.
Dude, you're killing it, man.
Thanks, man. It's been a good year so far.
Yeah, we have a few things in common. We'll get to them. One of them is we were both born on April 9th.
Yeah.
Even though on April 9th I disappear.
What?
I don't let anybody know that's my birthday on April 9th. I
Oh.
disappear. I'm always sick that day or whatever.
Okay.
And you used to work here at LATV.
Yeah, this is literally where I got my start 15 years ago.
LATV Live.
LATV.
What was it like that?
Well, this used to be an editing bay, so this is funny that we're
Well, this
recording
was
it.
an editing bay until yesterday too.
Okay, cool. So this is very recent for everybody. No, it was amazing. It was like I started here in 2004. Was my first show it was a show called Instant Request Live, and that's how I got started. And this was February 11th, 2004.
Wow.
And then
I wasn't born.
I know. Yeah, you.
I wasn't born on April 9th yet.
Yeah. And then eventually I did LATV Live for a little bit, and then I eventually moved on to MTV. So I was here for like 3.5 years. So it was the first thing I ever did, and I just jumped in. It was my first job, my first gig. I wasn't getting paid because it was all like freelancing, but I was here every day. People were like, "Man, this guy really." It was just like my opportunity to just like dig into my first LA experience.
And I don't know. Did you ever work for Mundos?
I know I never got a chance to.
So LATV.
But a lot of people left. LATV was like the birth, like, do you remember CTV?
Yeah.
Mundos and all that? I feel like from LATV, everybody came out and started working.
Right. I did the opposite. I started at Mundos because it started in Miami.
That's true.
And then I came here, and then working for Mundos, I came here to LATV. But was it also your first experience with like bilingual? Oh, why? We can be like Latino, but we're going to speak in English.
Yes. I think that was one of the reasons why I was able to really hit the ground running, because there were not a lot of bilingual people. And I mean, it's better now, but I feel like back in the day, there were a lot of Latinos that didn't actually speak Spanish.
Right.
So that was, and I'm from Puerto Rico, born and raised. So for the first time, I felt, that I had like an edge on people.
Yeah, that's true. No,
Yeah.
I actually learned Spanish here.
Oh, wow.
Because in Miami, I spoke Spanish to my grandparents,
same.
asking for food, for Cuban food. But when I spoke to my parents, I spoke in English. My dad would speak back in Spanish. Understood Spanish, but when I spoke Spanish, it would piss off my dad how bad my Spanish was.
Oh.
Coming over here to LATV, and then, there was, you have people coming from Mexico and South America, and they kind of look down on you if, your Spanish.
Yeah, I mean,
so my Spanish has gotten better.
I speak perfect Mexican Spanish.
Yeah.
I had to perfect it.
But Mexican Spanish is good Spanish. If it's from like Mexico City,
Neutral.
better than Cuban and Puerto Rican.
Univision neutral is what they call it.
Pero cubano y puertorriqueño.
Sí, claro, no, papá. Hay que cambiar eso porque no se entiende.
I know.
It's too fast.
What drives me crazy though is, and we have a Spaniard here. I love her. She's one of my best friends, Maria. And I have another friend who's also Spanish. But the Spaniard,
Yeah.
When they emphasize it a little much, it's like just nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
Stop that.
It's like a Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
Quality to it.
Well, you know how it started though, right?
It's because the king
at the time
lisp,
had a lisp.
and
Well, everybody's like, okay, let's go ahead and have
I
a
heard about
lisp.
that.
And it's like, now that you know that, why would you keep doing it?
Yeah.
And acting like it's proper.
Yeah. Well, enough years, enough time makes anything a routine.
Yeah, but it sounds so bad. They should. I mean, like,
They're not gonna change.
No, they need to change now. They need to listen to this podcast and all stop pretending something that they.
Well, not everywhere in Spain, right? Because they're La Canarias. Everybody kind of speaks Puerto Rican.
Right. Well, that's where the Caribbean Spanish comes from. La Canaria, because a lot of I have a lot of family that comes from La Canaria, because a lot of them they would go from there to Cuba. It made a lot of sense. They were right there. Gentefied.
Yeah, man.
Tell us about the show, man. We had Felipe Esparza here a few weeks ago.
That's awesome. He's great. He's amazing. Dude, it's my first series regular role in a show. I mean, it was an amazing experience. I fought for it. I auditioned back at the beginning of pilot season, and I couldn't believe I got it.
What and where's it gonna air?
It's gonna air in Netflix.
Right.
But I don't know. We don't know. We don't have a date yet.
How many?
It's probably gonna be end of the year or the beginning of next year.
How many episodes did you shoot?
So 10 episodes.
Wow.
10 episodes.
Not the 6.
Not the 6.
Not even the 8.
No.
You guys
We
got a nice, robust 10.
Yeah. It used to be 13.
Well, but
yeah.
season 2, you guys are getting 13.
Yeah.
Does anybody get 13 anymore?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Netflix, I read somewhere that Netflix realized that the extra 3 don't add anything
Right.
to a series.
Only to their, their budget sheet.
It seems like it's a hassle. So I think they're moving more into like the 10 or the 8 episode.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of new series usually start with 6.
Yeah.
So-
To get it, it's like a pilot. Yeah.
And they had like It's Bruno, which I love.
Yeah.
They had the people there. They had like 6 short ones. Are you guys gonna have like half an hour episodes?
Half an hour episodes. Yeah. It's a dramedy, but it's So it's a half hour.
And what do you play?
I
Or
play.
who do you play? That's my bad grammar. Maybe what is the right question?
Hey, who do you? I'm one of the cousins. There's 3 cousins
Okay.
and a grandpa. So it's the Morales family.
Right.
And my character is a guy, which is actually kind of goes with kind of my situation, my emotional situation. I left Boyle Heights when I was 10, and I grew up basically in Idaho. So I was very agringado. And then I came back, and my character wants to be a chef. And he's like, at the beginning of the series, he's working at this fancy restaurant in downtown, and he's trying to, while his grandfather works he's had a taco shop forever in Boyle Heights, dealing with gentrification and dealing with closing up or whatever. So it says basically the stories of this family just coming together and surviving the situation. And so, and then I have JJ Soria, who plays my other cousin. And he's got another set of problems. He's dealing, it's an amazing, like, ensemble.
Who does
Everybody.
Felipe play? Felipe Suarez.
Felipe plays a guy called Crazy Dave.
Yeah. Crazy Dave.
Crazy Dave, yeah.
And
I don't
he's
know
just
if I,
part of the
spoiler
neighborhood?
alert, spoiler alert.
Is
His
he-
character's name is Crazy Dave.
That's funny. He's part of the community. He's just
Yeah,
like-
he's one of JJ's best friends. He's one of the yeah.
Okay, because here's the thing. Felipe is actually from Boyle Heights.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful.
Did he become a little bit more of a consulting producer on the series?
I'm sure they asked him for at some point they probably asked him for
Or did the other
accuracy.
producers go? Well, did the other producers go? I can't understand anything he's saying, so just nod and yeah. Was he? Did he get a trailer or anything like that?
Yeah,
Or like an
everybody-
area to smoke his
everybody-
blunt?
Yeah. I think everybody gets a little space to hang out.
Was he? Because I was in I had a short little moment in a movie called Taco Shop.
Yeah, I
which
remember
keeps
that
on getting re-released.
Yeah.
Every
Special
6 months
edition.
somewhere. I don't know what. And I hung out with him on his trailer, and it was nonstop marijuana. Is that
Well, I didn't hang out with a lot of the stuff that he shot. I wasn't around for.
Carlos, are you the good kid Latino? Are you the good kid the good kid Latinx comedian?
I think so. I mean, I'm not trying to, but
But we need more of that in mainstream media because
Yeah.
I think mainstream media goes, yeah, Felipe makes sense. Some crazy guy who, that one time Felipe got in a fight on the street, and I don't know what was the story that he bits like somebody's ear off or something, like
wow.
almost like Mike Tyson.
Oh, wow.
And then he realized he had to get his life
That's
straight.
when midway through tearing somebody's
Yes,
ear,
I
he had
know.
an epiphany.
I can never see you doing that. I can see him do
I
that.
don't
I can
think
never
I
see.
can bite an ear. Yeah, no, I'm pretty chill. I mean, and especially with this show, I was like, oh, I gotta focus. I gotta work out. I gotta practice. I gotta memorize. I really took it. It was an amazing experience.
What I love about the show is how real. I mean, they picked the neighborhood right now that is actually being gentrified in real time. I mean, usually a show will be a few steps behind, a few years behind of whatever story they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
But this is very happening right now in that particular neighborhood.
Boyle Heights is ground zero for a lot of stories that are happening right now. And we shot. Our studios were like in Boyle Heights. They're like.
Was it by Homeboy Industries?
It was by the place where they make the coffins. It's called
The place where they make the coffins.
I don't know. There's a place, and it's open to the public, and I thought it was always weird. It was like a coffin
There's a place
factory,
that
and it's open to the public.
a
It's like
coffin
open casket.
factory. Are they trying to send a message to the kids, or are juvenile delinquents being?
No, it's that area right next to Boyle Heights where it's just like a bunch of it used to be like factory spaces, and they have studios there, and so we shot the whole the indoor stuff. We shot there. But we were literally 2 minutes from the main locations. Everything else we shot on location in Boyle Heights.
Does Homeboy Industries make an appearance in the
I
Gentefied?
don't think so. I don't know. Not when I was around.
Do you know who Father Boyle is?
Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah.
Boyle Heights isn't named for this guy named Father Boyle. It's complete coincidence.
Yeah, it's just
he's the guy that started Homeboy
Industries.
Yeah.
The chips and all that good stuff. Yeah,
and just coincidentally, this is an old white guy. His last name is Boyle, and he decides to come to Boyle Heights.
He's running with it.
He's totally running with it. Tell me about the podcast, Spanish Aqui Presents.
So
which I think there should be an offshoot called Spanish Aqui Presents when you're feeling a little bit more Spanish.
Right. Well, the name comes from SAP, and for all you youngins, back in the day, TVs used to have a secondary audio programming called SAP, which you would put on when you were watching certain shows. You could do stereo,
Spanish audio,
secondary audio programming. We were just playing around with the name, and I actually, Spanish Aqui Presents is a team that started at UCB, the comedy theater, is a Upright Citizens Brigade. So we started performing there. We started doing a variety show, a Latinx variety show. So our goal was to basically bring all Latin people of it, any kind of and then not just for comedy. We brought people to sing. They've done magic or whatever, and then we bring a special guest. We interview them, and then we do an improv set based on that. Okay. So we did that for a long time, and then eventually we were plugged right into Earwolf, and Earwolf was interested in starting a podcast, and so we just started. We premiered June 16th.
And Earwolf is part of the Stitcher family, which is the biggest podcast network. So you're in a really good place.
Man, they really know what they're doing, man.
Are you making friends with people? Because I was there the other day where I ran into you, saying hi to some friends, and I'm kind of in awe. Some of the people that walk in, the comedy Bang Bang people are walking in. Are you rubbing shoulders with those popular white comedians? Hey,
like that brood, that group of people. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you just hang out. I'm not I'm not up their butts or whatever.
No, don't be up their butts. Just be right outside the studio, with the that stance where you put one leg up on the wall, and kind of like an late '80s movie, high school movie. And then as soon as they walk out, you just start following them and you start asking them questions. Yeah. Very organic.
Yeah, no, I think it naturally happens when you're there. So I don't push it too much. And eventually we just had Paul F. Tompkins do an episode. So. And
who else is on? Who else is part of?
So part of SAP is Raiza Licea, Tony Rodriguez, and Oscar Montoya.
Okay.
And together we've been working together for a long time. So it's a great team. It's a beautiful group of people. And
are they all stand-up comedians too?
They're all improvisers.
Improvisers.
Yeah.
All right, but you're the one that also does stand-up.
I do stand-up as well.
Okay, so talk to me about that clash of worlds, the stand-up world and the improv world. Yeah. There's a little bit of attitude between them. Because most of my friends are stand-up comedians, I side a little bit with them.
What's the beef?
It doesn't take place between you and your group sometimes. The improv people have their kind of culture, and stand-up has its culture.
Yeah.
Stand-up's a little bit more they fuck around a little bit more. Maybe where improv is more, I think, respectful of acting exercises and acting maybe.
I think it depends. I think overall there's a stigma. I feel like there's a stereotype like what you're just saying right now.
But expand more, because I'm just.
Well, no, you feel like I will say this. I'm spread out. I mean, comedy for me is it, right? So it's an umbrella term when I've been lucky enough to do improv, been lucky to do sketch, stand up. I love it all. It's all a different arsenal, a tool in the arsenal for me. And it's been for me especially, it's been seasonal, right? So stand up, I started doing that, but then I've done it for a long time, but then I would take some time off, and then I would start doing sketch, or I would do so to me it doesn't really collide, and I mean, I have friends like Francisco Ramos, and I have a bunch of stand-up, Jesus Trejo, they're all super great people, so I think it's just the people more than the scene.
Are you doing totally, are you doing the Spanish stand-up comedy with Francisco and Jesus?
I did Trifecta last month,
nice.
In Spanish.
How'd it go?
Stand-up in Spanish, great.
Is it hard to, because I've seen some of Francisco, I actually have Francisco on the show recently too, and I actually outside in the hallway, because I got you guys mixed up, I know the two, I'm talking your nationalities.
Cool.
I got your nationalities mixed up. Not that I invite Carlos to the show. I'm like, hey Francisco, how you doing? No. I'm like, you're Venezuelan, right? Because I was thinking, but you guys should play brothers at some point.
We could be related. He's in Gentefied too.
He's in Gentefied too?
Yeah, he works with me in the kitchen, dude.
Really?
Yeah, man.
They put Francisco in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But he's subservient to you though, right?
No. We're both like line cooks at the beginning of the show.
Carlos Santos.
Yeah. So no, we had a good time.
Me and him dated the same woman, not at the same time.
That was a weird pause, but that's cool.
Yeah.
So weird pause.
We dated the same Venezuelan actress.
Okay.
He went first and then I went after, but I went farther. is what I like to tell him.
Okay.
Like, go. Try to pivot out of that one. Let me see you pivot out of that one.
No.
Okay. You've never dated her too, right?
Oh, which one? Which one is it?
Have you also?
Which Venezuelan?
I'm not gonna say the name because she's already blocked me on social media.
Oh, what
it's
is
like
that bad?
That's how far we went.
You went so far.
I went so far that she's blocked me from her entire
have a
life.
restraining order.
No, everything went fucking fine until I'm noticing blocked.
You thought okay.
I thought, but you didn't date the same girl that Francisco's dated too ever, right?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I gotta do some research.
I have to do some research. Is what I gotta do.
Oh wow! And this Venezuelan is she? She's in the industry.
Venezuelan. Yes, and look, she's Venezuelan. That's all you need to know. Venezuelan women, they're like,
They're what?
They're like a lot. They're like a lot in every way. They're one of the. I find Venezuelan that area of South America. The people are some of the most beautiful people in the world.
Yeah.
So Venezuelan women, Colombian, very beautiful. But they match that beauty sometimes in fire and.
Sure, passion.
Yeah. Sometimes you want.
As long as you don't say spicy, you're fine.
No, exactly. But you need listen. After you go out with a Venezuelan girl like this one,
Yeah.
I should say Venezuelan women. You end up having to take a break and like have a white girl.
Okay.
Like a nice, quiet white girl
that bad?
to just. To break up the fire.
Yeah. You
the
need
passion.
You need to have a little.
It's too much. Going back to where were we? When Francisco Ramos took us on a different tangent. Where were we before we got to Francisco?
The stand-up world.
The Spanish world. I can't imagine, now that I've kind of rediscovered Spanish and I've done some stand-up back in the day, I can't imagine doing a whole set in Spanish. Like, do you really? Because it's not, the jokes don't hit the same way. You have to write different kind of jokes, though, right?
The jokes are the same. The vehicle, the structure is different, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this is the best example. I'm going to give you an example of improv and into why stand-up works for me as well. I started doing improv in Spanish in 2015. I had never done it before. That's how I met these people. That's how I met Raiza, Tony, and Oscar, actually. Okay. That's how we started working together. It was a different team then, and then eventually we turned into the group. But once I started doing improv in Spanish, I didn't realize that it was much easier for me. Like, my brain, there was even less lag time. It was like I was directly coming. I mean, I felt like I could perform at higher levels.
In Spanish?
In Spanish. Because the buffer was off. It's like, we don't realize this, even if we're, it's still my second. English is still my second language. Yeah. So when
did you move to the United States?
After my freshman year of college.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you grew up in San Juan?
I grew up in Bayamón, Tuabaja.
And where's that exactly
So it's like 10 minutes from San Juan. It's área metropolitana.
And you like, what percentage of Spanish, like how much? How did
I learn English and all that?
Well, how much percentage did you speak Spanish to English growing up in Puerto Rico?
The only English I did was just watching TV, basically. Wow. But I was in an all-English school from 4th grade to the first half of 6th grade.
Okay.
I went there. I switched schools. That's when I learned English. I came back to my old school. And from that point on, it was at least the authenticity of accent came from TV. That's why I don't really have, you can't really tell.
No, you sound like somebody that grew up in Miami or New York or something like that.
Yeah. Depends on where I am. I kind of I've acclimated to the location.
I was born in Miami. I was born in the United States, and I have a slight. So you almost have the same level of accent as I do. And I was born and raised in this country, but in Miami.
Yeah, you definitely have the Miami.
The Miami accent is strong. The Miami bro accent. You got a little bit of the Miami bro accent too.
Do I? I don't know. I don't see it. Bro, I don't see it. Just kidding.
Did I say but I'm trying not to say bro too much.
No, you don't have to say. Oh, is this a source?
I used to say bro a lot. I mean, growing up in Miami.
I know. Well, she's Cuban. Raiza's from Miami.
That's right.
And Tony's from Miami.
What people don't understand is that girls from Miami say bro.
Oh, yeah.
They call each other bro.
Yeah. It's a whole thing.
So you were okay. Did you have something else to say about that?
No, no, that's it. So then I learned. That's why I learned English when I was like 8 years old, and then after that, when I came out here, actually it was tough for me because my mouth. It's just a different muscle, right? So when I went to Fresno State randomly, it was an exchange program. That's a different story. But I got here, and the first 6 months was terrible because my brain and my mouth would just not connect right? So the first 6 months I was like saying dumb stuff.
So your first 6 months was from Puerto Rico to Fresno?
Yeah. When I left Puerto Rico, the first 6 months that I was in Fresno State, it was the thing for me is like it's having these thoughts that are funny, these jokes, and then having to filter that and having to speak English 24 hours a day, which is different from just knowing the language and speaking it every once in a while. So that was a big adjustment for me. It took me at least the first semester to kind of just like, because my brain works in a different way, and the jokes that I could tell you that I can make that could be funny in Spanish can also be funny in English, but you just have to serve it differently.
Yeah.
That is to say, when I started doing improv and I started doing it in Spanish, it opened up my brain in such a way that my English improv became so much better without me even realizing. So I became even more confident in both languages. And so the same applies to stand-up. So the ideas are there, but there's a familiarity.
Just say family. Just say familiarity.
A familiarity that comes from saying it in Spanish that allows me to have that extra because it's my native language. And a lot of times we don't realize that when we come from like from other countries, the stuff that we talk about is considered, he's just he's just talking about ethnic stuff. Oh, he's the Puerto no. But whereas white people it's just their upbringing, right? So when they talk about their stand-up and their upbringing, it's just them, right? So for us, it's like, he's going to talk about Puerto Rico, or he's going to talk about Cuba, or he's going to talk about whatever. And so, like, people don't realize that there's also kind of, like, affects the way that you view your stand-up. And so from that point on, I was like, when I realized that, it was just like, no, that's just going to be me.
Well, you know what? I also think that and this is for the people that are putting out content, movie studios, TV networks, and all that stuff. I think that American audiences, whether they know Spanish or not, should be ready for at least some sprinkling of Spanish words and emotions, because they'll get it even if they don't know what the word is. I mean, if you're speaking in English and then you just break out into some Spanish rant, they should kind of understand how you feel, even if they don't understand what the words you're saying, and they can still find it funny.
That's true. When I was doing Improvisos Peligrosos, that was the original team that I was in. It was all in Spanish. It was long form improv in Spanish. We had never done that at UCB in LA. And there were a lot of people that didn't speak English or Spanish, and they still enjoyed it. It was funny because we would have like white people like coming up to us, like they were like, I didn't get everything, but I was so excited. So it's like almost like a reward for people to get the intention of what we were doing.
Because the thing is, like, Spanish, because it's so emotive, and because, let's be honest, English is a lot more intricate of a language, so you're actually trying to communicate more little nuance ideas. But with Spanish, you're trying to communicate big emotions. And it's not, that's why sometimes, I don't know, when you look at the structure of Spanish, and I'm getting too scientific. Fuck it, I'm not even going to go down there. Mira, vamos a hablar en español un momentico.
Dale, ¿qué quieres que te diga?
Bueno, ¿cómo sueno? Eso, ¿cómo se
dice?
dice?
Mejorando un poquito.
Gracias. Mira, cuando yo hablo con mi abuela, yo digo, hola, abuela, ¿cómo andas? She goes, hola. And then,
ya, mijo, ya no me hables más en español, por favor. Que me duele.
Yes.
Me duelen los oídos, papito. No te
I
preocupes.
don't understand you. She doesn't, I think that
I learn English so you don't have to speak Spanish.
I think, you know what, but still, I have one grandmother that she's been living in this country for, 50, 60 years now. I mean, she came in the early 60s. Yeah. She stubbornly, maybe she knows English, because I think she knows when people are talking about her in English, but she stubbornly just like, no.
She doesn't have to. Miami.
She doesn't have to. It's Miami. I know exactly.
You don't have to.
You need to learn Spanish.
Miami's great, man. People go and they talk to you in Spanish, even if you don't look like you speak Spanish.
Yeah, it's.
You go to the gas station and like, ¿qué pasó?
Yeah, no, and I told I have white American friends here that go to Miami, and they're like, everybody spoke to me in Spanish, and I'm like blonde haired, blue eyes. Yeah, they expect everyone. Yeah, might be. All right, you were in a great small film that I think had big cojones.
Yeah.
And I believe it should be. I think it still has a chance to grow into like a cult film if it gets discovered more.
Yeah.
Ghost Team 1.
Ghost Team 1.
What a funny movie that was. What a pleasant surprise when I saw that.
That was that was quite the experience. That was back in we shot in 2012. It came out in 2013, and I came here to promote that.
That's right.
And I had not been here for a long time. So I think the last time was.
You saw Ghost when you came here.
Yeah.
And you were promoting Ghost Team 1.
I was like, all these feelings. What's happening? Yeah. Because quickly before we get to the movie, why it was a big deal for me, I gave up hosting. I did hosting for like 7 years. After LATV, I did MTV3.
Right.
And I moved to New York. And when I came back, I started from scratch. So I was like struggling. I was broke.
Yeah.
Because I said, no, I'm not going to take any hosting jobs. Because I knew that if I continued to do that, then I would just be tied to it. So after a couple years of literally being broke, everything started to change a little bit. And so in 2012, I booked this movie. I switched representations. I basically got this movie on my own.
Right.
And it was like, when we shot it, it was like a month. It was like very low budget. So nobody expected it to go as far as it did.
Yeah.
But it was lightning in a bottle. Yeah. So the whole cast and the directors, we all got along so well. And
who was your co-star? What was his name again?
J.R. Villarreal.
How's he doing?
He's great. He's just doing
He's
it.
crazy.
Doing his thing.
He's funny because he's Mexican American, but he reminds me of the Cuban guys that I grew up with. He even starred in a movie called Magic City, which is about Cubans in Miami. Because he comes off as such a Miami bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's funny because one of my friends, when he showed his brother the trailer for Ghost Team 1, they thought that I was Indian, and he thought that he was Puerto Rican.
That's hilarious.
So I was very tan for the movie.
Yeah.
And so.
It was very, I love, especially with, like, because with you, you definitely come out, like, who you are comes out in that movie, right? You're, like I said, you play, like, the straight guy, the smart guy, the
emotional
right.
Yeah.
The one that everybody should be able to relate to, regardless of ethnicity, age, whatever. Angel. No, what's his name? No, your co-star. I'm so bad at this. Alex. He's gonna get mad if he ever listens to it. What's his full name?
Wait. Who?
No, your co-star goes to Ghost Team 1.
JR.
God damn it.
Where did you get Alex from?
I don't, because his last name is
Villarreal.
You're right. Where the fuck did I get? There's no A in there. Villa.
Man.
I think my brain stuck on Villa. Alex. His name is Alex. Jerry Villarreal. Some of the scenes with him, like, it is the best lowbrow humor that you could possibly get. But it's well done lowbrow humor.
Well, the directors they let us go crazy, and they made sure that everything made sense. So there was a little heart to it. There was a lot of heart to it.
And there was a little hardcore to it, too.
A little hardcore, yeah. I don't think, that movie should not have been so successful because it was crazy.
Are they playing it, like, on cable or anything like that?
Yeah, it still plays everywhere. Just like digital streaming.
The guys, if you're listening to download it wherever you can find it.
It is a wild movie. That third act, just be warned, it goes off the rails.
Yeah.
It gets crazy. It's basically back in the day. Now I feel like horror comedy is very much a staple.
Right.
But it was one of the first movies to really kind of like get it going. We came out before the Wayans brothers put out their horror comedy. They had done like it's basically a comedy version of Paranormal Activity, but it's not a parody.
Right.
So it's a story that lives within that world, but it's treated as a comedy.
And there's ghost sex in it.
And there's ghost sex in it, absolutely, yes. And Fernanda Romero is in it. Tony Caballero, who's killed it. He went on to do a bunch of things. He's now doing a show at HBO. Nice. The Righteous Gemstones. He's amazing. And Fernanda's always killing it, obviously.
She's hot. Did you ever see the Carl's Jr. commercial?
Yeah. Well, the directors made that commercial. It was supposed to be a parody, and people thought it was real. It was a parody commercial. Yeah.
I wonder how her family felt about it, because she showed her cards on that commercial.
Yeah.
She showed what she's capable of.
Yeah.
She's another Venezuelan, I believe, right?
No, she's Mexican.
Well, she comes off as Venezuelan, bro. Okay, very Venezuelan.
I think you have a thing for Venezuela.
No, I do. I
think you just have Venezuela in the eye.
Yes, I do. You
gotta work through that girl. You'll tell me her name.
Yeah. I'll tell you after. Yeah, she's. You probably don't know her. She's like a former telenovela actress type, so just kind of like on that tip. Right. But wait, what was? Oh, and then from there, is it from Ghost Team 1 that you got? Was it the Sprint commercials?
The Metro PCS.
The Metro PCS commercials. By the way, you killed those commercials.
Thank you, man. It changed my life. That also changed my life. Listen, when I tell you that I was broke, I'm telling you.
Do you still have Metro PCS?
No, I don't. You know what happened with Metro PCS?
Is it done?
I got on TMZ.
Oh, okay.
And they asked me, and I've always had Verizon.
Yeah.
I mean, Verizon should pay me now that I say it.
That's
but they called me, and I played it off. I was like, oh no, my personal phone is not Metro PCS. But
somebody was interviewing you on the street for TMZ?
Yeah, somebody got me on TMZ, and then they aired it, and so they made fun of. They didn't make fun of me. They made fun of Metro PCS.
Wow.
Then within 24 hours, I got a call. I was like, because they were like, yeah, I had been doing it for a while, and there was no reason. I never got a phone. I never got anything. So they're like, pick a phone from the website, and we'll send it immediately. So after the TMZ thing, they were like, oh, we messed up. We gotta.
Are you still getting paid by Metro PCS?
No.
Are they still around?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I was checking back to see if I could find a video for that thing. I found it still lives on the internet. Metro PCS started doing ads for TMZ, so I feel like that almost created like a thing. It's really funny. Like Metro PCS started doing ads for after that whole thing.
That's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
You were great on it though. That was because there was some like moves involved and stuff, right?
Yeah, that wasn't me. Obviously, that was a stunt person.
Oh God, why do you have to crush my dreams?
Sorry, it's Hollywood.
My fantasies that you're doing all your own stunts in the Metro.
Yeah, that was. I'm telling you, man. 2013 was an oasis year for me, especially because 2012 was bad. My dad had passed away. I was broke. I had broken up with a girlfriend for 4 years. Like everything that could have happened happened in 2012.
Wow.
And so like I knew that I just had to survive that year. And by the beginning, and then I auditioned for Metro PCS in Puerto Rico over Christmas.
Wow.
Over Skype. It was like the first week of January of 2013. And I was like, they called me to see if I could do the audition over Skype. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like coming back from the beach. And I did. It was originally supposed to be like a politician type character. I was like, nah. I just did what I did. 2 to 3 days later, like, you have to get on a plane because you're shooting that thing like 2 days. I auditioned on a Saturday. I got a call on Monday and I had to get on a plane. And mind you, I had no money. So I had to like get people.
They wouldn't pay for.
No, because
this was for the last audition.
This was for the first. They wouldn't pay me because it's when you book a commercial, they don't pay for your travel.
Okay.
Unless you're going from there. Like, it was in LA, so it's local. You can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was like the first thing. I was like, what? So I had to like figure out. And if I had missed the window, it would have been screwed because they got a call on Monday. I had to fly out on Tuesday. Wednesday was wardrobe. Thursday, Friday we shot. And it was like which is usually very, and then it came out like very quickly, which is rare for commercials.
Right.
As you know, sometimes commercials can take up to months.
Yeah.
So everything just kind of happened. I started off the year crazy, and then Go Scene 1 got into Slam Dance,
right,
which happens at the same time as Sundance for low budget movies. So for the first time I went to Utah. A week after I did that thing, and then I booked another commercial, and then I moved out. Like, it was just like and then I started doing a sketch comedy show for Sofia Vergara's then YouTube channel called Nuevon, and
right.
It was called Chamacas.
Okay.
So it was just like, it's kind of like how I'm feeling right now with the SAP and Gentefied and all that stuff. It's just like, it was like all this just happened. So I did that Metro PCS. I did that for 2 years, but man, within a year I was debt free.
Wow.
That's a TED Talk, man.
That's a TED Talk, huh?
August 20th of 2012, I recorded myself because I was like, I had literally like $3 in my
dude. So your life matches the Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
At the end of the world, 2012, and then the renewal in 2013.
Yeah.
Are you a spiritual guy?
Yeah. I grew up in church, man. My dad was a pastor.
So wow.
Yeah.
And so are you a devout Christian, or do you also, now living in LA, kind of like get into some of this new age stuff?
No, I feel like I had a really healthy relationship growing up in church, which, as you know, when you're the pastor's son, that can go wrong. Mm-hmm. My family's great. My mom's she's a warrior, man. She's the best. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they set me up to exist and thrive outside of the bubble. A lot of times the problem with religious fanaticism is that you're in the bubble, you're fine, but as soon as you step out, it's like you don't know how to handle it. And I think I'm very thankful that my parents gave me the tools to kind of deal with the reality of the world that's not just like the Christian world, So good. I've been very happy and very blessed to have that kind of point of view. Mm-hmm.
Does it become even more of an anchor in times like this where, I don't know, things are becoming very subjective and values are changed drastically from person to person, especially in a place like Hollywood?
Yeah.
Is that, your
and I think
becoming more of an anchor?
I think a lot of times what happens is that the lines get blurred, right? Because you have so-called morality issues. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people get caught up on that, and that's why you get all these problems with like civil rights and human rights and all this getting trampled on, because I did grow up in church and I believe in a lot of great things, but I also don't believe that people should be singled out for stuff. I believe everybody has a right to have a happy experience. And so that's why when I say I have it's like almost like being part of a political party when the person that's in the political party is a disaster, but you still want to be, what's the word I'm looking for? You want to be loyal to the party as opposed to I'm loyal to the positive effect and to the good stuff that comes from that. But I don't think it's right when religion, just like anything else, is used as a weapon.
It's used. It's hijacked. I think politics as well is hijacked.
Just everything it can be potentially disastrous.
Are you? I know there's a lot of comedians today that comment on politics, and there's a lot of them. I had Gabriel Iglesias here a couple weeks ago. Just stays away from it. What's your approach?
I think if it hits me, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't go out of my way because I never grew up that way anyways. Like I'm not like.
Do you consider yourself like in the middle politically as well?
In terms of commenting on it, I feel like with the Puerto Rico stuff that just happened.
Oh yeah, what do you think about that?
So that, I mean, obviously it hits at my core, and I did what I could out here. The Puerto Rican community got together here and tried to so it's not like I'm apolitical, but at the same time.
And just for listeners, the governor recently stepped down.
Right. After 12 days of protest. The
millions
entire
of people.
Island came together.
Millions of people fit into. I mean, it was
like
huge.
1 million people.
And it's because what? Because they found leaked texts where he's
making
fun of.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Okay.
What happened? It's been years and years. I mean, there's a long history of corruption, just like anywhere else.
In Latin America, you're kidding me.
So what happened is that after Hurricane Maria, and I say this because I remember thinking after Hurricane Maria, I was like, yo, better stop with the corruption for a little bit, until we get back on our feet.
Right.
But it turned out that they just kept business as usual, right? So a lot of that stuff kept building and building and building, and then what actually broke everybody went crazy when the 900 pages of chats came out, and they were basically making fun of people that died during Hurricane Maria. They were making homophobic comments against Ricky Martin. That's it. You can't make fun of Ricky Martin, man.
That was the real straw that broke the camel's back.
That's a rap. You can't make fun of Ricky Martin, man. Not in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And they basically called. Yeah, I mean, it was just a boring, which is like locker room talk.
Yeah.
But that was it. Like, it's like, okay, you're gonna be corrupt. You're gonna steal money from us. We're dealing with like a recession in Puerto Rico and all this other stuff that's affecting like the education system. Schools are shutting down while you keep making money on the side. And we've been like weathering it, and then on top of that, you're gonna gloat about it. Forget it. That's it. That's a wrap.
You know what? I had some friends from Miami that went after Hurricane Maria to take a bunch of donated goods and donated foods to the island. This was, I have a friend that works for Facebook, and he kind of like gathered a lot of people, Cubans and Puerto Rican guys from Miami. When they got there, they had a couple of trucks or crates filled with stuff to hand out, and they couldn't leave the port because some of the local Puerto Rican truck drivers there wouldn't leave because they weren't involved. They wouldn't allow these goods to leave the port in any truck
because of the union stuff.
I don't know if it was union. I think it was
There's
even.
I
think there was. It went beyond that. I think that it was just like you said, corruption. When they tried to get these people involved, fine, we'll pay you what they because they were doing something with someone else. I mean, they were treating it like if it was like a competing promotion, and there was like this is disaster relief. Like to stand in the way of that.
What's the guy's name? David Ben Goud or Ben Guy? I can't pronounce his last name. He works for CBS. He's basically the patron saint,
right?
Because he covered the Hurricane Maria, and now he covered everything to do with with Rosselló. And he just posted something where they found a field full of like pallets and pallets of bottles of water.
Yeah.
And then somebody else, like a lot more stuff started leaking out. And there were like these power plants that also didn't get like portable power plants that didn't get sent out. And so like it just angered people because a lot of people died. A lot of people died because they didn't have access to water, because they didn't have access to electricity. And it's just like that frustration found its limit. I mean, it's not a coincidence that literally 1/3 of the population came together and said, olvídate de the political parties, let's just come together and get this person out. And that's just the beginning because the line of secession is messed up.
Big time. Yeah. Well, I'm like fiercely independent politically. I'm suspicious of everybody in power. The only time that I was inspired by someone running for office was Obama. But other than that, I regained a skepticism. After you see that like there's a system in play and that system rewards corruption, and sometimes you got to do something corrupt just to get something good done. That's the games that these people play. But I'm one of these people that's like, we should all have a healthy suspicion and skepticism of anybody in power to hold them accountable, and that's why we're seeing the elections and we're seeing the split in this country, and like one side it's all about getting their team to rah rah rah, we're behind this guy, and then the other people are like rah rah rah, we're behind them, and we hate the other side. But everybody, like the people, should always be skeptical of whoever's in power, whether it's their party or not. Because power corrupts, and especially, this is a conversation that Latin Americans and American-born Latin Americans have to have. The prevalence of corruption throughout Latin America has to be addressed. not just by the outside world trying to like teach us how to, hey, you Latinos, let me teach you how to do, but within ourselves. And I think that if not American born, but because you're basically, well, you're Puerto Rican, so you're an American, but Latinos, Latinxers that spend time in the United States, when they go back to their countries, and I want to go back. I've been to Cuba a couple times now. Hopefully we take back some of this like American want for transparency, although that's out the window as well. No. What's a want? It's not a happen. It doesn't happen, but there's an idea of checks and balances in our democracy that in this country as well are corrupted. But those ideas really need to spread to Latin America so that they realize we got to check the person in power. We can't just get all behind them because we're always going to be disappointed. We're always going to get screwed in the back.
Yeah, and I think the newer generations are the ones that are finally,
Well, because the internet has changed a lot. Now, there's a lot of fake news out there and a lot of like miscommunication and manipulation. And that's why you got to be a critical mind. You got to be able to...
Which is not what... being taught.
Nobody,
it's not. The government doesn't want people to be critical thinkers.
No, they don't want that. They want everybody to be very confused. Yeah. I mentioned Latinx. I'm finally getting used to saying Latinx. Yeah. I kind of like the sound of it now. At the beginning, I was kind of like...
A lot of people have issues with it.
Because Latinx... Well, I'll tell you what my issue is.
Yeah.
Why don't we just say Latin the way we used to say it when at least when we were little kids? It was, Latin male, wanted for the Latin music, Latin food, the Latin billboards. Because it comes from Latin America. Yeah. What happened is in the late 90s, there was a movement to reclaim our culture. So we didn't call each other Latin. We called each other Latinos and Latinas. Yeah. Didn't want to use the word Hispanic. That's another loaded word. Sure. For Cubans in Miami, we don't mind using Hispanic. But, other people wanted to reclaim because that had a colonial, imperialistic attention to it. Although Latin comes from Italy and Rome. I'm not going to get it. I get it historical and like you guys are spinning yourselves into a frenzy. But we said, then we moved to Latino and Latinas and then we get into the conundrum that, when we say everything's Latino, it's in the male and then is it leaving at the female? So then they came up with Latins. But why didn't we just go back to Latin?
So here's basically... our first episode of Spanish Aqui Presents, we go right into it.
Okay,
because a lot of people, and I didn't realize a lot of brown people were having an issue. I'm not saying that I don't know if you have an issue with it,
right?
Because you were just telling me, but people are like vehemently against it. They're like, this is a colonizer or whatever. But to be honest, the conclusion of why Latinx exists is because it's just more inclusive,
right?
And just like Hispanic people have issues with it,
right?
And we've heard like people that like Latina because it's for the feminist movement. It's important to have the A in it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, X just allows people to identify with anything.
But do you think that they almost took it? If going from saying Latin to Latino and Latina maybe was an extra step that created some messes. Do you think that going to Latinx is just another extra step instead of taking a step back and saying let's just go back to Latin, which is gender neutral?
It could, but the thing is like in English, because of the reason why the X also is because they don't have gender, right?
But Latin is gender neutral as well. The X is to make it. The X was to make Latino Latina gender neutral, but we could have just gone backwards and just go to Latin.
That's true.
But at this point, so much branding and marketing has been built around the Latin. For me, Latinx could have been the name of a cool Marvel superhero.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The Latinx man.
Yeah. But at first I was saying Latinx.
Latinx.
That pissed me off. Latinx. Are we Latinx now?
No.
But
I would say Latinx.
Latinx. I like that.
That's a better ring.
I'm gonna do Latinx.
Latinx.
Like like Dos Equis.
Yeah.
The beer. That's what. Basically. By the way, this thing is sponsored by. No, it's not sponsored by.
But it should be. I don't know what's in here.
Dude, yeah. No, I put some tequila in there.
Cool.
Actually.
But I think at the end of the day, people get worked up over anything. I think if you want to use it, use it. If you don't use it. Nobody's forcing anybody.
I don't think anybody should be forced to use it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I gotta be honest with you, I'm going half and half. Sometimes I'm taking it back to Latin. Like I'm just leaving the X off.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to make it happen, dude. Just keep that's fine. Everybody's allowed. I think that's the thing. Like it's not meant to create difference or fights or whatever. It's just meant to be inclusive.
Right.
Personally, Oscar was talking about how he feels more well represented by the term Latinx in a way that Latino or Latina didn't. And I know we didn't even put into account the whole Latin thing, but for him, it feels like there's a certain responsibility that he grew up with in a negative way of what a Latino is.
Right.
And so, like, he put it perfectly. Like, he feels like that allows him to just be who he is by just saying Latinx. And I refer to myself as Latino, and I say things like, I haven't changed, but when I talk about a show or I talk about people,
same thing.
Then I just say Latinx. It's just easier.
It's what everybody's using. Yeah. You know, I actually went to, Politicon? Okay, I've been covering it for the past few years, and I was doing some interviews there, and I was actually interviewing a lot of brown people with MAGA hats, and there was a lot more than you'd expect. And I was talking to this one Afro-Latina woman, and I'm asking her, how do people of color balance being of color and then supporting someone who has, these undertones and things like that. Now, before we get to the question, there's a guy named Anomaly who's Puerto Rican, by the way. You know what he is? Anomaly. He's kind of...
wrestler?
No, he's this guy with long hair. He looks like Andrew WK, but like Puerto Rican.
He would. And he's in
somebody
named Anomaly would.
And he's one of these guys that I kind of agree with some of the things. He's kind of like a libertarianish kind of guy, he's like, he says he voted for Obama. There's a lot of those that liberals that are kind of like have libertarian streaks to them. But he was standing next to us, and he goes, like because I said people of color, and he goes, we used to say colored people, and it was derogatory, and now we're saying that again. And you know what? I go, look, you know what? I agree with you. When we started saying people of color, I also used to think, oh damn, didn't we used to say colored people, and that was and now we're kind of, but that's what people are saying now. So for me to get to my question, I have to use the term.
Yeah.
Same thing with Latinx. I'm not going to fight that battle every time. If people are using Latinx and I need to describe a show, I'm going to say Latinx. Yeah. And there might be somebody in the back, oh my God, you're giving into this new term.
And that's like the wrong hill to die on. I feel like there's so many other actually important things to have an opinion or to really care about or to really like be affected or inspired by. These things, these terms, these words that are always going to evolve. Right. Just language is always going to change.
And then what's funny is that he was shooting at the same time as I was. So on his YouTube, which has like 150,000 subscribers and he gets slightly more views than my videos do, he posts a video, reporter gets owned by blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't even getting on. You can even watch the video and it's like me relating and the girl's laughing or she's like, she gives a thoughtful answer and so did he at the time, but then turns around and gets owned.
It's clickbait.
Those YouTube clickbait things, it's crazy. Lastly, I want to go back to God, I can't use the word the squad because that's these women in Congress, but you and Jesus Trejo and Francisco Ramos and some of the people on your podcast, they're the coming up Latinx comedians. You guys are right on the precipice. You guys have a lot under your belt at this point.
Fabricio Copano.
Okay, Fabricio Copano. Was he shooting a sketch the other day with Jesus Trejo in Hollywood?
Yeah, because they're all together.
I ran into them outside of my apartment.
At the car wash?
Well, because, no, not the... Well, was it the car? They did a thing about a ticket.
Oh, the parking, yeah.
You know who Ari Manis is? Ari Manis, he opens up for Theo Von, who, by the way, is half Nicaraguan. We need to bring him into the Latinx community.
Theo Von, I know Theo Von. I've done so.
So his opening act does a podcast out of my building, my apartment building in Hollywood, and they were down there, the squad. I think they were shooting a sketch. But, Francisco Ramos and Jesus Trejo are two comedians that I followed a lot over the years, and I consider Francisco a friend. I feel, that you guys are right there. What do you think is going to take for the three of you to make it into that wide general market, like recognition stage that maybe that Theo Von is in now, for instance?
I think just a little bit more time. We just keep the momentum. I feel like it definitely feels like there's a momentum. Yeah. And I feel like, especially with Spanish Aqui Presents, from the get-go, from jump, when we did our first show in January of 2018, it was like sold out. Mm-hmm. And to that point, I had been doing shows at UCB that were just like, when we were doing the other shows, it was like, people would go. The amount of support and the amount of energy that brought into the thing, I was like, oh, this is serious. Like, there's definitely there's not a frenzy, but there's definitely a need for this. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. And to see them do it on the stand-up side is great too. Like they're really going for it, and I'm just happy that these different groups of people are like circling each other. Or also comes from like a nurturing place. It doesn't come from like a crabs in a bucket place. Right. And I think that's why I love those guys, because they're more that's my style. Yeah. Even in my stand-up, and even in like, because right now my home base is UCB. I never really got a home base at any stand-up comedy club. Right. I didn't spend enough time hanging out at the comedy store.
Yeah, you got to hang out at the comedy store every night, huh?
So organically, UCB is it for me. And so like I'm going to rep UCB until I'm done, because that's what I'm doing right now.
Are most of the stand-up nights at the original one on Franklin, or is it on that
Usually Franklin.
What about that new...
Sunset, that's where I perform. That's where we do the show. We actually have a show on Friday. When did this come out?
God, it's actually going to come out
next week. It was a fantastic show. was a great show.
Is it gonna when's it gonna happen the next time after
It's
Friday?
a first Friday of every month.
Okay, so first Friday of every month. Cool.
At 9:00.
Yeah.
So we have so we've been doing that for a while. And what were we talking about? Oh, so Sunset, yeah, and I'm also part of the sketch. I'm in the mod teams. You know, they have the Herald teams, which are improv teams, and the sketch teams. So I perform at least twice a month.
Are you the resident Latinxer, or are there other Latinxers? Coming
There's a lot. There's a good community of people. I mean, enough that we exclusively bring Latinx improvisers from the UCB community to perform, because we'll do mashup teams too.
Okay, I gotta be honest with you. You know how I was saying you're the good kid comedian? With that goatee, you can play the devil though.
Man.
You there's your range.
I've gotten Tony Stark too.
Oh yes.
So maybe I don't know.
Have you ever been Iron Man for
No,
for Halloween?
but one time I went to Comic-Con and
I was just at Comic-Con, by the way.
Yeah, and I had a Batman T-shirt on, and the guy was like, some guy just walked up, he was like, "Wow, that's a missed opportunity." I was like, "Excuse me?" It's like, "Yeah, you could have dressed up as Tony Stark. You messed it up." Like he thought that I was
that's hilarious.
I was doing cosplaying.
Comic-Con is hilarious. Yeah. You know what's funny is over the course of the week, some of these cosplayers are wearing the same costume. So, but like Sunday and it's hot as hell in San Diego. It's like, man, you smell like It's like you guys gotta come without. Yes, and it's funny. You see some of these cosplayers, and it's like this is their weekend, you know, and they're a little disheveled, a little sloppy about it, but they got the getup, and then there's somewhere like, man, they're just standing in 100 degrees downtown San Diego with, there's some crazy.
It's amazing.
It's. Have you ever dressed up? You don't cosplay, do you?
I don't. I've never cosplayed.
You like people to dress up around you, but you don't really.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm a geek to a certain point. Like I don't wear it on my sleeve, but if you go to my house, it's all Ninja Turtles.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess the Ninja Turtle that you were, but first it's what? Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, and.
Wait, what did you say?
I'm the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
before I guess the one that you are. Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael. You were Raphael.
No.
You want to be Michelangelo, but you're Raphael, man. Donatello, the smart one.
I'm Michelangelo. I was the youngest. I've always been the youngest.
Because he's the funny one.
Yeah, but even so, he's the youngest. He's the one. He's the mascot.
But you're growing into Raphael.
Oh, maybe.
You're growing into a responsible leader. Wasn't he the
leader?
leader?
Into Leonardo.
Who was the leader?
Leonardo.
Oh, then that's what I meant. Yeah. Raphael was the pissed off guy.
Yeah.
That's not you. My bad. That's you
that's
know
you.
that you're like, oh, that is me. I'm too. But hey, listen, we're all pissed off.
You're all Raphael.
We're all pissed off. Okay, so Leonardo was the leader. Okay, so you're growing into Leonardo. Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I think that we got enough to do the psychoanalysis.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. No. Well, what happens is after we put this up, we put this through a psychoanalysis report, and then we submit it to the CIA.
Got it.
Okay.
I'm so glad you have my emotional handprint.
I already have your birthday, so all I need is a social security number, and maybe next time I'll get that.
Yeah, you can pass for me.
Carlos Santos.
Yeah.
By the way, where can people check you out?
So you can find me on Instagram at of course it's Carlos. You can find me on Twitter at it's Carlos Santos. You could also go to at Spanish Aqui Presents on Instagram, and you can find it on any of the podcast apps that you use. Spanish Aqui Presents. We just started, so we have we're 3-4 episodes in, and we're gonna be doing a lot of it. We're signed up for a lot of episodes, so watch out for that. Every Tuesday, a new one comes out, and the Spanish Aqui Presents also has a live show the first Friday of every month, and Gentefied is coming out at some point at the end of the year, at the beginning of next year.
Nice. Carlos Santos, you've been on Check It Out.
Check it out.